I have to read the questions because Bhante has not brought his spectacles. Venerable Bhante, your discourse last night was very impressive and profound. Until last night, I was thinking that I was doing good in my practice. I observed Atta Sil, that means 8 precepts, twice a month and did 4 times during the Vesak this year. Now, after listening to you last night, I began to wonder that this is not sufficient and that I should do better. In what ways can I do better? Please explain. With metta.
That is pertaining to the sila. That means if you go on principles, sila means that restrainment regarding the physical and verbal deeds. So we can do it in the ceremonial way, observing 8 precepts, 10 precepts, or 9 precepts, whatever may be, and make ourselves bonded with, or have a promise not to kill, not to steal kind of thing. But instead of having one day or once a week or once a month, if you can continue it more and more, the momentum going to develop. Not in once a week or once a month. Instead, if you can, for something like here we do for continuously, then the momentum starts there. You can understand that when the momentum comes, it's a complete different taste. Rather than doing 1 or 2 days a month. And so this is coming out of our tradition, Buddhist tradition, where the Western philosophy, it says Sabbath day, once a week, and in the Buddhist Uposatha day. That means fasting. One day you do, you skip the night, the dinner, and then do it for the religious practices. So if you can continue instead of 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and that means basically restraining of your physical and verbal deeds. So therefore, whether you do it after taking the vow or without it, no problem, as far as you can maintain the physical and verbal restrainment. And whenever after taking precepts, you may be breaking it. Without precepts, if you are doing it, you are transgressing it. If you can be aware of it, under what circumstances I am transgressing these precepts, something like killing, stealing, or sexual misconduct, or verbal deeds, and there you can understand that they are quite inefficient, they are unskillful moments. So therefore, if you are under the precepts, you have 2 chances, 2 points. One thing is that it is unprofitable, unwholesome. Second thing is you are breaking the vow also. So therefore, you have 2 opportunities to restrain yourself. So therefore, when I was about preparing myself to become a monk, my main problem was how to do away with the dinner. Simple. Because I am such a person, I have to have at least 5 meals a day. That is the way I was. So it happened me to, and it is very difficult with my mother also. She wanted to have me 6 meals a day. Because I am a young boy and he says that you people must eat all the kind. So never I can skip. So I went to Nilambe and practice and try to do with some biscuits or cup of milk or something like that. So it was a real task. Others I have no much of a problem. At that time I had so much of killing and stealing happened. But they are not intentionally. I can make a determination not to kill, no problem. But this eating and skipping the dinner is day-to-day business. Very difficult. So when I am practicing, and there was my helper, and he later he came here and he says, I saw the effort that you are taking, slowly, about 6 months, continuously to skip off. And then now I can't think about the dinner. After 30 years, I can't think about, because you can't, sometimes 2 meals also appeal too much. So that is a matter of training. But so that I have a law has to happen. It is not the way of going to the precept, going to the temple and taking the precepts, or at the beginning. But later it's a matter of restraining your physical and verbal deeds. So therefore now the person, he knows, or he or she knows that once a week how to do it. Do it once 2 days, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, and ultimately it will become a second nature. So that is the way to proceed.
Venerable Sir, the 3 good characteristics of a leader are 1. Democracy, 2. Transparency, 3. Question mark. Could you please give us some examples of how Buddha was a great leader? Thank you.
The third one I learned in the economy, I think that is the division of labor. When you are running a center, if you are the leader, if you are the administrator, you must keep all the affairs as much as possible transparent. That's the best. You feel like you are losing your personality, you are piecing the private life, but anyway that keeping everything open is very easy rather than hiding. And the second thing is democracy, and everyone should have a saying, their own saying. And the division of labor, you must always try to recognize the abilities and capabilities of other people and assigning as much as possible. So they are not happy sometimes due to the fear or something like that, but it must be putting them into the practice. Ultimately everything come into the momentum. So therefore, when the Buddha, he says, Yathavadi Tathakari, Yathakari Tathavadi. Whatever I am going to say, I am living up to that. Whatever the way of living, I am expressing. So therefore it's a completely the open. As far as the democracy is concerned, he created the Sangha, the community of the monks. I think no one can think about a society like that. It is so democratic. Whenever 4 monks get together, they can make their own decision. There is not necessary to go for the authority. That 4 means monk, 4 means Sangha. They can decide and they can live up to that. No one can come and say, no, you can't pass the rules, like something like that, which in the frame of the monastic code, you can decide it and go. And the division of labor is concerned, the highest monk in the monastery must take the lowest job, the newcomers, training the newcomers. He is with the highest person. So that is how the Nalanda University happened. All the professors has to wait and do in the gate. Whenever the newcomer happened, the highest professor is going and asking why you are coming, what is the purpose, and then the interview itself it's a viva, either get it in or chase it out. And that is how the division of labor happens. So therefore, the Theravada tradition, if you see, up to the 5 years after becoming a monk, 5 years you are known as the the novice, not the novice, the Navaka. Navaka means the beginner. And then 5 to 10, slowly responsibilities are given. It is being Majjhima. And after the 10, that you are being recognized as Thero, that means established. From the 10 to the 20, you are slowly learning how you are going to the front line and taking the administrative decision and helping others. And after the 20, you have to take all the responsibility. And after the 20, your main aim must be to take the newcomers. And then you have to understand their mentality. Otherwise, you can't run. Our physics master told, when I was in the schools, he told in our the day-to-day life, when a person going to get the first wisdom tooth, he must have the first baby's the teeth coming. So he can understand when the wisdom truth is coming, he get the pain there. And then the baby is crying at that time in the night and the day, because there are also the Kiridat is coming. So that must coincide each other. But present day marriage system is not. Now we are very delayed. When the wisdom teeth is coming, the father is coming, it must be coinciding with the child. So that is how we understand the pain of the child when it happens. So this division of labor must be to the top class person must understand just the beginner. Because beginner has to undergo so much of difficulty. That is how this rotation happens. So unless otherwise you train others, unless otherwise you teach others, you will get polished. So whenever the necessity happens, you must not hesitate. You must try to share with others. And then only, more than you are teaching, you are learning. And when I am on the way back to the airport, and the previous day also, where we had the 4 hours, within that 4 hours, one person organized a team, and have a discussion, and one walking session, and one sitting session. And people start asking questions. So next day early morning when he coming, while she driving, he told Bhante, you may be gaining so much of things because people asking so much of questions. So you have to understand. And then I told, within the trip, I am the person get the highest gain. I am not teaching and learning in such a way. Different cross-cultural way, and I must be accommodating everything. And people feel like I am omniscient, I know everything, and nonsense. You don't know my grammar. Even in Pali, even in Sinhala, even the English, I don't care. As far as the communication takes place, I carry on. Ultimately polishing. I can't imagine. Because when I was as a school-going age, I am the most foolish person in our family. 11 people, all the people are double promotions. They are masters. So every teacher is hacking me and blackguarding me, telling that you are the black sheep at the family because all the others are bright people. But you see, all that got love affairs and married, finished. I went to the postgraduate. I have no affairs. Going, ultimately no end. So these are the circumstances. I am not an academic person. But still I feel like a beginner, so much of learning, so much of the understanding day by day. So keep it completely open. Never assume that you are so and so. Whenever incident happens, see how much I can learn from this difficulty, from these encounters, and then rejuvenation happen all the time. So wrong it is to say that, raise the question as how to be a leader. You must understand how to learn how to be a beginner. This must be the phrasing of the question. If you are a beginner, definitely you are a leader. If you are going to be a leader, you must have horns. It is a foolishness. No leadership in this world. We have to all the time assume as the beginner. So, everlasting.
Bhante, sometimes in the practice, the breath becomes fine and the perception of the breath is replaced with awareness. Then, the body experiences shaking, stretching, tension, and sometimes heat in various parts of the body. I understand this to be a manifestation of the 4 elements. How is this bodily experience different to an experience of rapture?
So this is the kind of phenomena as far as the mind is concerned, from the conventional truth to the absolute truth, the transference is going to take place. So therefore our language, our symbols and everything is undergoing a transfer, undergoing a transference. So therefore all the experiences we can see through, as far as the materiality is concerned, the earth element, the air element, water element, that heat element, light. And the body also, you feel different things are happening. The heat patches happening and cool drops happens and the heaviness, lightness. Sometimes it appears like this is due to meditation. Of course, it is not due to meditation. This is always happening, but our mind is otherworldly. We don't know. Whenever the mind comes introvert, then you see all the bodily sensation appear like multi-amplified, but these are always there. But we are not here, we are not at home. We are worrying about the other people, other sounds, other visual objects, so therefore we have no accounting, no bookkeeping. Whenever the mind comes inwardly, and due to the mindfulness and the concentration, the amplification also high, so you feel it like a powerhouse, it's like a generator, it's like the power loom machine. So much of activity. And so, sometimes it is fearful, sometimes it is quite strange, so much of activities. Because only in mindfulness, or in the mindful moment only, you are at home. Otherwise we are outwardly. So therefore we don't know. And meanwhile, the mind also becomes little by little aloof or isolated from the senses and the organs, and therefore its amplification is increases, resonation increases, so therefore all the feelings appear very distinct, very conspicuous, so sometimes fearful. And therefore this is just a changing of your attitude from the external to the internal. So in that sense nothing happened in fact, but the attention changes. And the amplification is changing, therefore this thing can happen. So now the second part of the question is asking, how can we relate this with the rapture and the pleasure? So rapture, theoretically it says there are 5 layers, and early 3 layers are concerned as the immature, and the last 2 are concerned as the very mature rapture, or sometimes the gladness, which is Khanika Piti, Kuddika Piti, Ubbega Piti, Pakkhandana Piti, Parana Piti. The Khanika Piti is here and there, you get jerks, but it is unrelated. This jerk is related, not related there, but you feel some muscles are dancing. It is independently happening and disappearing, and that's finished. And again after a while another muscle start and feeling that appear. And then Kuddika Piti comes, sometimes you feel like the goose pimples, like sometimes waves are happening and this is disappearing. Oh, when the both together happens, you feel like a lightning. All of a sudden a sounds happen, a lightning happens, and disappearing. So when you are familiarizing it, Okkantika Piti means that these things are going to be a consistent. Earlier it happened in an accidental, unpredictable way. Consistently going to happen. That means mind is fully inwardly, but situation is not under your control. You can't tell them. It is happening. But ultimately you understand it is something like massaging. It's painful, but someone is going to give a full massage. Now you are going to the sauna bath and people is massaging. Someone is massaging, so you feel healing. And then when that happens, they become consistent. Ultimately, waves start from the down and going. Sometimes you feel in the spinal cord going like upsurging and like a boiling milk pot. And ultimately, it comes and overflow and overwhelming. And when the last 2 are concerned and the very mature piti, early part is known as the immature. There you have doubts whether it is happening in uncontrolled way, ungovernable way, it's beneficial or not. But the last 2, when it come to the shape, definitely you come to know it is beneficial, it is kind of a pleasurable, and therefore if at all you are to get attached, never you attach to the early 3. They are haphazard, they are accidental. But the second, the Ubbega Piti and Parana Piti, when it happens, definitely the magnetic power, attachment can happen. So, if a person is going to develop kind of uncertainty or fearfulness or negative feeling toward the muscle dance and kind of thing, this gradual development will be hindered. So therefore one has to be generous or to not to be much concerned about the body, let the phenomena to take place in an unhindered manner, and you have to get a distance observation and see. Then only they are going to get a consistency and come into the mature PT level. And but the danger is there when you go there, the attachment is one has to take care. So therefore the Vipassana yogis, it says it is good because the mind is quite introvert, and the healing process starts, and the mindfulness and the concentration is consistent. But when and where the attachment happens, there is a chance that you may lose the primary object. Early 3, when it happens, you are fairly with the primary object. But all of a sudden muscle dance happen, all the thing, goose pimples happens, and lightening kind of happen, but again and again you fall back to the primary object. But when you to the last 2, the waves are going to happen, overwhelming happen, there is a danger that you may lose the primary object. What you have to keep it in your mind is, the full-fledged PT going to happen, you must try to as much as possible to keep the primary object with you, with the face-to-face it, then there is no the danger. There is no magnetic attachment going to happen.
Swamin Wahansa, you mentioned in yesterday's Dhammadesana that one ought to take higher precepts, within brackets, ordination as a Samaneri, Bhikkhuni or Bhikkhu, in order to progress further on the path. Conquer, for example, raga, and to avoid stagnation. This would imply that a simple 8 precept cannot free his or her mind up to the level of anagami, arahat, question mark. Thank you for clarifying this. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say. It is not a question, it's a statement. So you are the one who is asking the question. I got the fellow. Got the fellow.
It was a question because you said yesterday and understood that somebody who is not ordaining cannot improve anymore. As I understood, maybe I understood it wrong.
That I understand.
You understand it like this? But
no,
then Bhante in the historical, Pipama was a laywoman, 8 precepts, and she went up to Anagami Arahant.
You are German. Your mind is German. So I have to say the question beginning, that at the very first time I told, the precepts are the strata, the stratification, but the main thing is physical and verbal restraint. So physical and verbal restraint be ever refined. That is what the simple say. So refinement base for the 5 precepts to 8 precepts. Stratification wise you can understand 8 is better than 5. And the 9 is better than 8. 10 is better than 9. It is going on. But as far as the restrainment is concerned, one has to think about more and more refined way, the cultured way, uplifted way, the physical, verbal behavior. So, according to the present value system, we can say a person can be a 8 precept holder, or Samaneri and Bhikkhuni kind of thing. But this is just to communicate. But the internal thing is, when and where you are developing any skill in any field, you find how to do fine-tuning. More and more fine-tuning happens. So you must never forego such a chance. Whenever possible, go for fine-tuning. Just in the music or in typewriting or whatever may be the field, more and more fine-tuning happens. So even without the social norm like the Bhikkhuni, Samaneri kind of thing, you must always keep the Sila, Adisila, Chitta, Ajitita and Sama, Prajna, Adipanya. So that even if you become a full-fledged Bhikkhuni, but if you are not living up to that, it's a defilement. It's a crucifixion. So even without becoming a bhikkhuni, but if you are refining your qualities up there is nothing preventing from you going to the highest achievement. So therefore this is relating to the external sasana and the internal sasana. External sasana wise, this recognition, stratification is necessary. But even then, if you have your own chance to forget about that. But as far as the internal sasana is concerned, it is the restrainment of your physical and verbal deeds. And you can keep it in the two separate things.
Yeah. And also, if you can remember yesterday, Bhante never mentioned it in that way the questioner had asked. If you can replay the recording when you listen to it again. Yeah, because he mentioned about Santati Amati, who was having sex for 7 days and who was intoxicated. And without wearing robes, he just became an arahant. So he was giving those examples. So it's...
Could I ask a question about the previous response, Bhante? You were saying that with the experience in piti, you experience jerk, thrills, and all those sort of manifestations. But don't they also demonstrate, isn't that also a manifestation of the 4 elements?
So that is why whenever you are explaining about the characteristic of 4 elements, the heaviness, lightness, fluidity, cohesiveness, heat, cold, stiffness, tension, movements, you can explain them in terms of materiality, you can explain them in terms of feelings, you can explain them in terms of perception, you can explain in terms of volitional activities, you can explain in terms of separation of the consciousness. So basically 4 elements means something attributable to the materiality. But feeling wise, the lightness is better than, lightness is pleasure, heaviness can be a pain. Or frills and thrills, when the movements happen, you feel pleasurable, sometimes not. So therefore, same thing, you can look through the feeling, the glass called feeling. Or you can have a perception wise. You can have your manipulation, manifestation, or that your volitional activities. So many ways are there. But 4 element, technically talking about the materiality, but same thing you can put into the pain and pleasure. You can put into the permanence and impermanence notion. You can put into that I must love, I must maximize the lightness, but I must forego heaviness, so you can have some volitions also. So therefore for all the 5 aggregates, as you wish, you can put it into. But technically speaking, it is talking about materiality.
You gave the Pali word for the 5 stages. Can you
5?
Kanika
piti, kuddika piti, okkantika piti, ubbega piti, parana piti. Kanika piti, kuddika piti, okkantika piti, ubbega piti, parana piti. This is the way the commentators are explaining in a gradual basis.
Swamin Vahansa, you always mention that, for example, Kayanupassana is leading to Vedananupassana and so forth. So it seems that it is more a linear development instead of an interrelated, interdependent progress. Question mark. Secondly, when and where does a yogi know when he or she has finished one stage and is entering another. What are the, maybe there are so many questions in that, so we can tackle one by one.
Yeah, that question happens, that elementary characteristic, we can explain in terms of pain and pleasure measurement, or perception-wise. So there is the elementary itself, there are a lot of interpretations. So, is this linear and reciprocal, or it's multidimensional? That often it happens in the multidimensional, but whenever yesterday also in the discussion we came to know, after the finishing the Kayanupassana, that means so you are developing certain amount of mindfulness and the concentration, and the body you can keep it for a while, longer you can keep it, and the object that you have selected. So at the beginning start with the discrete difference between the in-breath feeling and the out-breath feeling, or rising feeling and the falling feeling. Ultimately, the intrinsic, independent, personal characteristic of in-breath and out-breath disappears, and the common character going to start. Common character is in-breath also subjected to changes, out-breath also going to subject to changes. You may feel both as just a vibration, or just like a lightness, or just like a light. So that means now you can't discriminate, this is in-breath, this is out-breath, both appear equal. But definitely you start with the point where it is discriminated. Now it is coming to the common character. So this indicates now you are mastering slowly into the corporeality, the materiality, the matter, the Kayanupassana. Ultimately you go to a point where breath becomes unperceivable, still the mindfulness is there, the concentration is there. You are not falling into sleep, you are not entertaining doubts, you are not going to do forced breathing, but you can maintain just like a tightrope walking like a balance. So this is the kind of the empirical example or state we can explain. Now you have come up to a point. And up to that, goes to the subtlety, known to unknown, the full of motivation to something, doing to something happening is changing. So it's a task. So now we say, now you come up to the point where the breath is there, but unperceivable, but you are not bewildered. You are not fallen asleep. And when you are observing it, when the three people come up to this junction, one person may take the feeling as the next step. Other person may take perception as the next step. Other person may take the volition as the next step. There are three people from there can take three paths. So then onward, no one knows which to take. Best thing is, let the mindfulness to take the helm. Decided, if it is so, it is happening according to your intrinsic nature. The teacher can't tell that you have to go for Vedananupasana, Chittanupasana, the Sanya or Sanskara. So therefore, all the three, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, these are the mental factors, are based on Phassa, the contact. From the contact onward, which one is specialized is depending on your personality trait. Ultimately that particular, for example, that particular person is characterized with the feelings, the feeling becomes his or her bottleneck. They have to deal it with now feeling. For such a person, perceptions and the volitions are not much of a matter. So he will be doing, and he will be very sharp to the pleasurable feeling, painful feeling. Whenever the feeling happens, they say that I can take care about the sounds and the thought, but the bodily pains, but the bodily pleasure, there are so much of complaint, so much of obsessive. So that means he or she is with the feeling. Yet another person comes to the same junction and come and say perceptions. That my labeling technique, my recognition, my cognition, recognition, and the apprehension, reification, they become completely jammed. You can't understand the good and the bad. You can understand whether I am progressing or not. So that particular person gets obsessed there. But for such a person, feeling is not much of a matter. Yet another person is volitional and the motivational and will becoming so much of obsessional, and it is a bottleneck. So that particular person has to deal it with, digest it, and then through. When they are through, when they are going there, all the three, particular person specializing particular issue, but they are see-through. All are mental. All are mental sphere. So, therefore very difficult, even at the end of the Kayanapasana, beginning of the Vedana, the Nama Dharma, Rupa Dhamma, beginning of Nama Dhamma, the mentality, you have to keep the issue open. But the more important thing is that your character type is not completely hard and fast. Sometimes that is also changing. One day you will be stuck with the feelings, next day you will be stuck with the perception and the volition. It says your younger people are more with the feelings, middle people are perception, all crooks with the volition. I mean, these are just for the sake of explanation. So therefore, young people, they are always pleasure seeking. They wanted to have, even in the meditation, the results in terms of pleasure. But the middle people, not so. So therefore, within the people also changes. So you have to understand, their onward linear relationship is somewhat challenged and it is becoming multidimensional. Best thing is, don't worry about that. Keep the mindfulness intact. Keep the mindfulness steadfast. Mindfulness will work like a root of a tree. It is searching about the nutriments and the water. It knows. You can't see it, but by looking at the flesh vegetation, you can understand it is growing. Roots are growing. It is ever going to the darkness, going to the nourishment, going to the wetness. It knows its own art. So what you have to do is facilitate the mindfulness, then according to your character type, problem will be confronted with and sorted out. Volition. The sankhara, in Pali it's called sankhara, will, volition, sometimes it's a motivate, the propelling power. The will is the, I think, Western word, volition and will.
Venerable Bhante kindly explained how we can recognize Khanika Samadhi during our meditation. Thank you.
This is the Khanika Samadhi is what is called the momentary concentration. It's been translated as, compared to that we have the conventional concentration. The conventional concentration is the what we call Samatha Bhavana, and therefore it is called Samatha Samadhi. The Khanika Samadhi is known as Vipassana Samadhi, because without momentary concentration you can't proceed, and even for Vipassana it is a must, and due to its momentary nature, it can develop upon changing objects. Even the object is changing, it can be then and there concentrated, then and there aligned, then and there power line is straightened. But the conventional this thing is, object must be the same. When the object is changing, that conventional samadhi will be scattered. But the Khanika Samadhi is, even the object is changing, it can shoot. Example given is the target shooting for the target board, archery or target shooting, or otherwise shooting to the jumping animals. The conventional way is you fix the target and you get the distance, and if you are mounting the rifle or the gun on the tripod, you can directly focus it and for a show you can shoot. But if you are a sportsman and going to shoot the jumping animals, then the object is changing. Then you have to have the momentum and then shoot it. So Khanika Samadhi is something like a sportsman. So it's a rare chances, but if it is going to happen, it's going to give so much of pleasure. So that is because in the Vipassana, first and foremost thing you're going to extract is the changing nature. the transient nature, impermanent nature. So if you are focusing on to a one single object, then it is conventionally the same. You are mentally not appreciating the changing nature. Changing nature becomes a distraction for you. But when you appreciate the Kanika Samadhi, momentary concentration, there's enough chances for you to grasp the idea, the changing nature, because your concentration is accommodating, catering for changing objects. So therefore it is more robust, it is more radical, the Kanika Samadhi. So therefore the Kanika Samadhi, we can say, is the one the Buddha introduced to the existing knowledge, that the existing conventional Samadhi was there, and he invented this Kanika Samadhi. So therefore very object that you have used to develop the mindfulness and the concentration, that itself you can digest. You can penetrate into the object. Samatha Samadhi is preserving the object. Vipassana Samadhi is digesting the object. It is like a laser beam. The object also will be undergoing evolution. But still, the Samadhi is unbroken. You can see it while observing. So you have no preserving or conservative idea about the object. You let object to play anything. But still, try to keep the concentration and the mindfulness.
Say, if I am to understand right, in Kanika Samadhi, the primary object will change, will not stay as in conventional.
So I will add some more to the same thing in order to answer the question. I would like to take Anapanasati. When you are taking Anapanasati, there are three facets. That means the incoming and outgoing air column. And the particular point you feel the Anapana. And the discrimination between in-breath experience and the out-breath experience. So we can say three facets of the Anapana. In English, we call the striker element, the base element, and the ignition element. The incoming and outgoing air is the come and strike. The base become the sensitivity. To the sensitivity, it come and touch. And the incoming touch and outgoing touch is different, so you can discreetly understand the ignition element, what is the outcome of the contact of these two. It's called the ignition element. In Pali it is called Arammana Dwara Tadupapanna. Arammana means incoming and outgoing air. Dwara means the sensitivity of your body sensitivity. Tadupapanna means that when the incoming air come and touch, you feel coolness. When the outgoing air happens, you feel warmness. So ignition, the outcome of this contact, is something cooler, something warmer. Sometimes it's longer and shorter. Sometimes like a vibration or sometimes like a smooth flow. So therefore, even in the single object of mindfulness on breath, three facets. Out of these three, if your attention is naturally goes only to the strike element, incoming and outgoing, that is naturally you are a samatha yogi. You can't feel the touching point, you can't feel the discrimination between the in-breath and out-breath, but still you are a full-fledged yogi. You have the mindfulness, you have the concentration, but you are not specializing. Your mind is not have sharpness to say that I am feeling here or here. Whatever may be the pinpointing of the place is not much sharp enough. And the discrete understanding of the in-breath and out-breath also not there, but you are dead sure you are in the breath. You can feel in-breath and out-breath, but these two facets are not clear. But those who have the insight inclination have all the three facets possible. So at the time, they feel their attention is with the in-breath and out-breath. At a time, you feel the touching point. At a time, you feel the difference between the in-breath and out-breath. In a given moment, no one can understand all the three. Different places, you understand, or you assimilate, you the deductive knowledge, you understand, this is the in-breath, this is the out-breath. So, Anapanasati is the only object that the Buddha prescribed can accommodate, can cater for both the samatha and vipassana. All the other object by itself is discrete. This is samatha object, this is vipassana object. For example, rising and falling, you can't do samatha. Metta, buddhanusati, maitri, you can't do vipassana. They are by itself samatha object. But anapana can cater for both, and by carefully observing, carefully questioning, carefully interviewing, you can understand by their observation. If someone says, I can feel in breath and out breath, but I can't sure about the touching point, I can't discretely understand in breath and out breath, that you may insist again and again, but you have to understand that naturally he or she is the samatha yogi. But if someone is with the mind is calm and quiet, if they are sharp enough to understand the touching point, and still the in-breath and out-breath, that kind of a hint, vipassana yoga. And yesterday or day before also a question happened, and when the breath is disappearing, when it is very subtle and subtle and subtle, if you are a vipassana yogi, you can take a hint, you can take a sign of the touching point, or the difference between the in-breath and out-breath, whatever may be, you can take a representative of the breath. But the samatha yogi has only one thing, just incoming and outgoing air. So if it is disappearing, he often can become bewildered, because only one reference point they have. But the vipassana yogi have 3 reference points: in-breath and out-breath, touching point, and the discrimination. So therefore at the beginning, next day, when you are sitting, you must try to figure it out, all the 3 facets, as discreetly as possible.
This is about my own practice. Before I could see the rising and falling years ago, very, very clear in detail and everything. And since 2 years maybe, it disappeared. It's not interested. My mind seems not interested in it. It's like it's what you say. Can it happen that it changed between vipassana, that all of a sudden I'm changing into a samatha yogi?
Because in rising and falling, there is no chance for samatha.
It doesn't look at the rising and falling anymore. It just drops everything.
But anyway, if you are started, if you are the starting point, if you are starting with the rising and falling and come to the calm state, if that is the case, still you have no chance to go to the samatha. You are in the vipassana. If you wish to check it, what you have to do is let the mind to calm up to that level and then go to the anapana. You shift into the anapana. After with a certain amount of mindfulness and the concentration, consciously you shift it. Because there the sensitivity is high. So shift it and see. The anapana have 3 parts. Samatha part, vipassana part. There you let the mind to go. If there are any tendencies to the samatha, you can allow it. So it is called samatha pubbanga, vipassana pubbangama samatha. Starting with vipassana and then give way after a certain level to the samatha. Or otherwise you can go to the buddhanusati or maitri, whatever may be samatha object. After you train because now you are familiarized with the breathing and you know how to develop mindfulness and the concentration, but after a while you feel like you are going to a bifoc area, you don't know what to do. Under such circumstances, go up to that familiarized maximum concentration, change the object and give completely samatha object and see what is going to happen.
It goes sometimes automatically to the nose then.
That means that even after go to the nose, it has 3 parts. It may be engaged only with the breathing, or the touching point, or the discrete understanding of the in-breath and out-breath. That means that even if you are changing according to my judgment, vipassana is happening. Specifically if you can see the relation to your body, I mean practicable, verifiable, tangible, that means vipassana.
I see this little drops.
That means actually going on vipassana. And over there what happens is you lose the boundaries. When you are losing the boundary, in-breath, out-breath change is disappearing. The mind, object and the mind also merging each other, you can't see the materiality and mentality. and you can't feel me and not me, difference going on. So therefore, our mind becomes bewildered because it is losing its labels. Perception becomes challenged. So you don't know you are progressing or backward. You don't know it's a good or bad. You don't know it's auspicious or unauspicious. That is, your ego is threatened. Your frame is broken now. So you have to be bold, be radical, come or go Chicago.
It's like I see the pleasure and the pain same time.
Yeah.
Because today it was like I was sitting in high pleasure, but same time there was restlessness. It was very weird.
Definitely that the beauty of understanding is when you are taking heat elements is cool and the heat. Both the natural, so normal, rational, they are contradictory, they are polar apart. But the heat element means both. So that means you never understand heat without a respect to without a reference to the heat, coldness. They are comparative things, how the coldness can happen without the heat. So each one has to support. So likewise the pain never happens without a pleasure. There is nothing called intrinsic pain. It's a comparative. So the one day, I can't remember where it is. Yeah, when I am taking hot water bath, and I had a bucket, and temperature is fairly high, but your body is happy to have hot water. So anyway, I have the bucket, it is hot water, and I put enough cold water in this bucket, and shower is happening. So when I pour the water in the bucket into me, I feel it's cold. But the shower is warm. And then while I keeping, in the shower, I cut off all the hot water, now only the cold water is coming. So now I feel that what is in the bucket is warmer, and the cold water is pouring now. So whenever I am pouring one and after the other, the bucket now appears warmer, because the shower is now colder. So I understand it's a hell of a thing, the body is so much cheating. It's mere comparison. Otherwise, if we are to open the shower with the hot water, ever this bucket appears like a colder, it is uncomfortable. But whenever I close the hot water and let the water to happen only the cold, this appears real comfortable, warm. So therefore that our mind is so, how do you call that, one-sided, paralyzed. Whenever we attach to the pleasure, we hate pain. But we fail to understand pain cannot exist without the pleasure, pleasure cannot exist without the pain. So, blackboard you have to use white chalk. In the blackboard going to be with a black one, it never appears. For the whiteboard, chalk won't work. You have to have a different color. So we only see one-sided way. I think that is kind of a condition. So therefore, pain whenever happens, understand it is always come with respect to the pleasure.
Something in rising and falling, according to this definition, what is the base of
the abdomen. And it says in the rising and falling, sometimes when the rising and falling disappears, and when you disappear, when the discrimination disappears, you feel kind of a movements, you feel kind of a vibration, so kind of thing, but there is no rising and falling kind of a discrimination. Under such circumstances, your orientation also bound to lose. You can't understand where it happens. So in the breathing also, sometimes you lose the point. You appear like far away. Breathing happens somewhere far away. Sometimes appear like inside the brain. Like. But here also, when you are observing, sometimes losing. So therefore, Mahasi Sayadaw, he says, when the bewilderment happens, he says, between the navel and the solar plexus, this is the area you have to imagine. And keep the mind that in the imaginary place, not letting the mind to be wandered off. Just keep it there and let this, the natural phenomena, the warmness, heat, stiffness, tension movements to continue without letting the mind to entertain doubts. You appoint a place and let the mind to be there. Somewhere here. So that is what the base, that is the sensitivity of the skin. That represents the kaya prasada, the sensitivity of the body. Here. When you are breathing, it is here. When you are walking, the soles. When you are touching, palms and the soles.
Next question. It says, personal experience. Venerable Sir, on your advice yesterday, now I observe the movements of abdominal muscles. This morning, soon those movements were not felt. And the mind got calm, clear and calm. In the second session, however, once feeling the abdominal movement stopped. Many trivial thoughts came rushing. Then my head jerked as if I got a blow on the head, and then the mind got clear. Reverend Sir, from that time should I observe thoughts, because at that moment I do not feel the breath.
Yeah, whenever that situation happens, the prominence of the object must be your guideline. If the rising and falling is there, that is well and good. But if the thoughts going to happen in a very forceful way, if that is throbbing, if that is forceful, you just understand, now I am thinking. But if it's a pain going to happen in excruciating manner or it's an unbearable manner, you remove the point where you are keeping here and put it into place where it is painful. And if sounds going to happen, continuously irritating sounds, your attention is not again in the abdomen. So you pay the attention to the sound and you are noting, listening or hearing. So that is why yatha pakatang vipassana biniveso, that is the way the Buddha Gosacharya, it is rather a commentary to the Visuddhimagga. It says, whatever may the prominency, that must be your access point. So don't try to manipulate it. And whenever that prominency is been subsided, then you go back to the primary. That must be a rule of thumb. But if something is overwhelming with the primary object and throbbing, you take it as a primary object, but not the primary object, the something to be focused upon. But the main thing is not to hate that. When the thoughts happen, if you have a negative feeling toward the thought, if you have a pain and if you have a negative feeling, if you have a disturbing sounds and if you have a negative feeling, then you are not observing the object, you are observing, you are missing to observe your own reaction, your own projection. So they are very sharp, you have to understand, non-reactional. Just observe the prominency, but the reaction is happening not due to your will. At least you must be open to understand or restrain yourself as much as to do away with reaction. If it is happening, well and good, note it and keep it aside. Keep the mind as independent as possible.
Reverend Sir, I think I did not make myself very clear at that point. I did not feel the breath at all. The abdominal muscles stopped. I did not feel it moving, and then there was no pain at all in any part of the body, and also there were no particular sounds or anything for me to concentrate, to observe.
But the thoughts were there.
Thought first, yes.
So then the thought is your first candidate.
Right. Then would you please explain to me, elaborate how I should observe the thought without the thought going into streams of thought? Just stop at one thought and then just observe.
No, you are just generally starting with your attention. It is no more with the, I don't know whether your primary object is here or breath.
Yeah.
So then don't mention about the breath. This is the rising and falling.
Right.
That's for the clarification's sake. So now you went with the rising and falling, and it's fairly come into the controllable level and ceases to exist. And then all of a sudden thought happens. So now you know, you can't look into the rising and falling because it is subtle, but the thoughts become more prominent.
Yes.
The first and foremost, you change your attitude. Now it is no more with the body, you are now with the mind object. Not with the eyes, not with the ear, not with the nose, not with the tongue, not with the body, but mind. So that indicating thinking. When thinking happens, if it is kind of a message with full of desire, or full of hatred, or full of kind of a bewilderment, the trend of the thought, the content of the thoughts may come into being because your attention is with that thought. If that is the case, secondary, you can note it as the desire, or hatred, or whatever. But if it is not so, you just note it as the general thinking. Don't try to analyze it. Just let it happen, to let the mind to know, now I am no more with the body. Now I am with the mind. And then if it has a message only, you are going to specialize with the past thought, or future thought, or desire, or hatred, or bewilderment. So sometimes by changing shifting the attention to the thought itself, thought will subside. If they are trivial thoughts, if they are background thoughts, inner thoughts, by noting the thinking, it subsides to naturally subsides. Unless otherwise it has a very strong message. And if it is subsiding, then you come back to the primary object. Of course, by that time, primary object is very subtle.
That happens once.
That is a good thing.
Because the other eyes could not see any particular thoughts as well, because it was very serene and calm and quiet, and the abdominal muscle was also not rising and falling. I mean, I did not feel it at all.
Yeah.
So at that time, what should I do?
So that indicates the plane has gone and it's airborne now. You can't feel jerks now.
Yeah.
So now you have to season your mind as much as possible. Now, to make sure your mindfulness is intact, concentration is intact, but no physical object as such. So let the continuity of the mindfulness to go, let the continuity of the concentration to go. Don't worry about that there is the perceivable object. So even if it is airborne, if the balance is there, you just let the gliding to happen. So that is the point, very transition is going to happen, because solid, the ground, now you are becoming airborne, and synchronization, getting the balance, and the acclimatization has to take place. So longer the time, you become more established under this situation. And after a while, if you wish, you can put into the autopilot. But last time I asked the captain, when I am coming, I was in the cockpit. And I asked, I am talking this nonsense because I was to learn it. So he demonstrated me. It was a Air Lanka flight, and he was one of the English board. I told these questions I am often related to the meditation. He says, Bante, very sorry, I am not a meditator. But my wife is meditating. Then I told, that is none of your business. I am asking questions. He said, oh, any question. Then I asked, he told that when the full thrust given and it's airborne, the captain is the only answerable person, so he has to say, everyone has to be tighten belts, even the crew. The plane must be completely balanced. And he indicated me, now we are, at that time from the Heathrow, we are now reaching the Indian border, that means long distance pass. He told, when we are taking off, the weight of the plane was 2 lakhs of kilos. Now it has reduced to 175,000. So he says, when I am taking off, full pressure, full weight, and the machines are running, from then with the thrust it is becoming airborne. It is up to the 100 meters, I am responsible. After it comes to the 100 meters, if there is no question, then I can go for autopilot. Then he told, now his plane is autopilot. Now due to you, I am going to remove it, and I am going to take it to my hand. So he switched off, and then you feel the plane is gliding now. He says, do you feel now? There's a kind of a thing happen. So now I have to calibrate the meter, and it must be in the zero level. So it just shifted away. And he told, when I am again put into the autopilot, there are 3 computers calculating each other. It is getting the bearing from the Heathrow. And now it bring it. Or otherwise, through satellites, GSP, that also I can get the calibration, and this is this meter. Or otherwise I can talk with the hereby the airport, the people also give me this thing, and there is a book, handbook. So whatever maybe I can do, but autopiloting I can do only after 100 meters up. So this is, if I am to relate it to this one, the now Kayanupassana means you as far as you are on the ground. But in there you have to accumulate the momentum. And at the particular momentum you have to change the shape of the wings. And then only the thrust come into that. And now slowly it is going to the Nama Dharma to the Upadharma to Nama Dharma, or for ground to the air. When it happens, the plane must be balanced. You must not give any jerks. And then after 100 meters means now we are fairly on the ground, then best thing is to put into autopiloting, he says. Maximum saving of fuel can happen. When we are going to manipulate, more fuel is going to burn, so autopiloting. So that means you must find a reason, or you must try to develop yourself, how to withdraw myself and let the meditation to take place. So usually mothers won't allow children to play themselves. They wanted to have all the ways under their surveillance. So therefore mothers can't do meditation. All the time controlling that don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. Ultimately child becomes just a puppet. So that is the way in the meditation also you have to be a mother. When the children are going to run, then they are going to jump, breaking their neck. That is the way they become hardened. And sometimes you start jerking and sweating and vomitish. Oh, very good. That's the way you understand this is not under my control. So therefore, whenever you are going beyond the materiality, our mind, our body is acclimatizing into a different climate, or different paradigm, and there changes must happen. Otherwise your meditation is not strong enough. It's kind of abnormality going to each and every day going to happen. Ultimately you understand it becomes your second nature. You go prepared. Anything can happen. Ultimately that is how your immunity is increasing, your capacity is increasing, and you are not complaining, you are ready to anything. So ultimately not only you can be a pilot, you can be an astronaut. Go beyond the gravity level, only the pilot can be astronauts. Ready? Until?
You told the lady to watch her thoughts, whether it's anger or lust or whatever. Now then, does that fit into those 3 states? One was feeling, one was perception. So is that the perception state?
Yeah, that is basically that your reaction, your judgment, your labeling. Accordingly, the thought will be considered as an enemy, or sometimes you may be taken for a ride by the thoughts, or you may be ignorant whether I am in a thought or in the rising and falling. all the kind of thing indicate that how your judgmental value, how you change, how you react with the newcomer, the thought. So it's a completely open issue. So therefore you have to be not only observing thoughts, you have to understand the underlying tendency there. I have a hatred towards thoughts, or I am entertaining or indulging the thoughts, or I don't know whether I am in the rising and falling or thought kind of bewilderment. All the things also there, whenever the second intruder come into being, your reactions are natural to happen. So whenever such thing happens, you must be smart, not only the observing and noting of the intruder, but in addition to that, what is your perception, what is your underlying tendency. So that is why it is challenging, it is asking higher degree mindfulness, high sensitivity, not like you are going with the primary object. I didn't get your question properly.
Once you said that once you come to this calm state, there are three types of people. One
yes.
goes into the feeling, one goes into the thought, the other goes into the volition.
Yeah. Not the thought, the perception.
Feeling, perception and volition. Yeah. So this lady at that time was going into the perception state.
That is you can't say categorically. When the thoughts happen, still he will be a feelingful person. He will be a perceptionful person. Or maybe some person with the volitional activities also. So it is one single event very difficult for you to say what character type is. That is lack of information. Not enough information.
So Bhante, can you give any example while you are meditating, the volitional person, what sort of things will he or she be?
Volitional person never let the meditation to happen. Always try to do something. Either to see anicca dukkha anatta, anicca to see the 32 elements. Or can I see elementary part of that? Oh, nonsense. All the nonsense. Theory become forward and practical become lost. Put the cart before the horse. No meditation. And they come and say, I see 32 parts, I see as if bright and very clear. I try to make you this chance to see anicca dukkha anatta bhante. Very clearly I see anicca dukkha anatta. Then you have to understand it's completely the manipulator. So best thing is to let the mind to drive. Understand according to as and when it happens, then you get the first hand experience, first hand touch. It's called Pachakanya, direct knowledge. Anything you are going to put, theory knowledge, appear like very vivid, very lucid, but you don't know you are conditioning your mind. So therefore, learned people are not better off, sometimes maybe worse off. But not necessarily, if you know the traffic, you understand, keep all the time the direct touch forward, let all the deductive knowledges or inferential knowledge to behind. In the arrowhead formation, the cutting edge must be the direct touch. So it is very difficult because you must be down to earth kind of a person. Always have a connection with the materiality, verifiability in touch. That is why the end of the Kayanupassana, the Buddha mentioned, Yatha yatha va panassa kayo panito hoti tata tatanam pajanat. Whatever may be the shape of the body, you be mindful then and there. Body may be slack or very erect, whatever may be, but you must understand, you must not try to adjust it. You must understand when this happens, my body is such, sometimes lean, sometimes waving, sometimes jerky. Don't adjust it. Be aware of it. Being aware, you know it is not an imaginary. It is not a hallucination. It is not a deductive knowledge. You know it is direct touch. So much so, no complication can take place.
When I was telling about my experience that I lost all the feeling of the body and was very calm and quiet and serene, I really enjoyed it and I wanted it to be like that.
That is why it says American government can't tax it. They say the American government can tax any pleasure, but not this one. The American government is so shrewd. They sell everything. Tax with the tax. But when you go to this, but you are being taxed by defilements, the desire, the attachment. So this is called immaterial pleasure. It is not related to the visual objects, not sounds, not smell, not taste, not touch, not thinking. So you can understand this is free of charge. Laddha mudha nibbutim bunjamana. The Buddha says it is free of charge. And the best thing is, when you come up to that level, ultimately you will find it is not by fighting, it is just a walkover. The best thing in the world, never by fighting. The worst thing and inferior thing is always fighting. The best thing appear like a walkover. No fighting, no one fighting. Everyone is fighting for the sensuous pleasure. Even the animals. When you go up there, you see there is no one to look. This is the walkover. So there only you must understand that itself is an attraction. But by little the familiarization you can understand that still there is a danger, because I like it. I is there. So that you have to master again and again. Whenever more you go more and more there, less and less competition. It's a walk over there by just applying, putting your application through. There's no interviews, no viva, no question papers will be taken. Every fighting is for these, the lowly things.
But during this autopilot thing, sometimes thoughts come in, sometimes you hear noise. Does that mean you have come out of the autopilot, or is it part of, are you still flying?
No, there you can have at least two attitudes towards the thoughts. One thing is, the general thing is to get rid of. You develop the, allergic. Something nonsense came like that, you want to get it off. Otherwise you can let the thoughts to be as, because it is not invited one. And you can understand, if the thoughts are happening, that's a fair chance the lost breath again can appear under the thought situation. So there, while in the thoughts are there, you are not going to push it off. You can see the relationship, can I see the breath? Thoughts are the one which is intruding, but you are not reacting it. Thoughts are not, you are not entertaining it also. Therefore, little space in your mind. You are directing that space to see, can I have the traces of the lost breath? So the day you understand the breath you can see while thoughts are there, it is like that the breath is there, thoughts are interacting. And that breath, if you observe, it's very calm and quiet. It is not distracted by thoughts. So that is the time you are seeing through thoughts. It's a real achievement. Thoughts are there, but you are not blocked by the thoughts. You can see through. What you are seeing through is your primary object, and the thoughts, it becomes almost like no thoughts. The power, the destructive power of thoughts completely lost. They become inert thoughts. They become background thoughts. Then you can understand, it's called, Lokohamdo used to say, Vitakka Vijay. Vitakka Vijay means that you have something to be worried about, but it's a poisonous power dropped. It becomes an inert matter, so you can be well shielded and have relationship with the primary object, and thoughts come in and going just like clouds. When the passing clouds can't cover the moon. So you are not worried about, even covering, you know it is swifting, it is going off, so you are looking at the moon. And when it is explained by, I think, Venerable Buddha Dasa maybe, he mentioned, these thoughts can't permanently damage your mind. They are temporary things. Worrying is the damage. If you are not worrying, main thing is not to worry. But not at the beginning. Now you are in the certain level of mindfulness and the concentration, there you can play. He says, for an example, when you are looking at a film, in the traditional way. Even it is applicable to the TV screen also. When you are looking at the film, the screen may be showing a waterfall. But long time you may observe that the screen won't get wet. And sometimes you may show wildfire, but the screen won't get burnt. Because they are just flashes. Likewise, the mind never get burned of this thing by thought, because they are swifting, they are just coming and going. But if you are worrying, then your mind is burning.
What I have observed also is like the old memories seem to be coming up. Then with a jerk I seem to come to the present. Like come to the present moment. And that jerk seems to be consistent because whatever the thought, the trend breaks with a jerk. I don't know whether that is bad or good or whether that's supposed to happen. And the other thing is, now, this autopiloting, we are in a sort of a haze, sort of a little drowsiness is there. So, trying to look for the breath in that drowsiness. Is that like, because you're autopiloting?
Sometimes it happens. The first time when I had the first flight, when I go to the Holland, there was one staff member, he said, if you can request, you can go to the cockpit. So I was not in an Air Lanka flight. So I asked and they gave. And there was a very old Singaporean first person was the pilot. So at that time I was not meditating. So when I go there, he told me, shaken hand and asked me to see and wait. And I asked, how is that? He says, now it is autopilot. That I don't know. Then I asked, can the machine take completely the control about that? Then he asked me, then what is the use of me being here? Then I told, I asked the wrong question. So he was angry. Exactly the ego become angry when the autopiloting happens. It will become drowsy, become monotonous. It become boring. So instead it says, what about looking at the breath? What about thinking about the mother? What about thinking about the helping others? Like the ego is losing the contact. And therefore the boredom can happen. But instead, more than thinking about any other thing, looking at the primary object is if at all you have to do, that is the only thing you have to do. But main thing you have to understand is, whenever the things are happening without a problem, main distraction we are going to develop is the boredom. The monotony. The how to call, disinterest. And kind of dislocate. Lost kind of thing. So the Buddha says, the hook to the samsara is the desire. Whenever the desire happens, that is the first and foremost cause for the samsara. The opposite of the desire is the monotony. This is the pathway to Nibbana. Whenever the pathway to Nibbana opens, it appears like a boredom. It appears like a monotony. So you have to understand, whenever this monotony happens, still can I maintain my enthusiasm to see the monotony as the monotony, while it is happening, while we are in the autopiloting.
That means even when we are in the autopilot, we have to navigate to look for the primary object. Is that what
Not necessarily. Because primary object become a titillation, becoming a phenomena only when a challenge happens, otherwise it is very calm and quiet. So you can let it sleep as it is, be aware of it, and just go. Whenever thought happens or pain happens, reaction happens, again the primary object arises. So therefore, if the primary object is by itself is calmed down, you just see a possibility not to do something. Withdraw yourself. Withdraw egoistic forky fingers. No volition. No desire. Just let it happen.
very clear back to what we are supposed to, like, there have been moments when I have felt the time has been, I have lost sense of time. Is that what
That is the very great thing you have to understand. Whenever the autopiloting goes and once you develop this familiarity, once you develop this, once you season into that, you lose the space and time. It appears like a loss to the ego. You feel like something dislodged. You feel like deranged. So more and more you go there, you find you can acclimatize into that situation. Even though it is not going to give any memory, you are going beyond the space and time. As far as the space and time comes, the ego comes. The orientation happens. Whenever the space and time goes, temporarily the ego goes. The configuration, comparative, relativity disappears. So this is the way you are liberating. No responsibilities, no commitment, no accumulation of new volitions, it drops. So at the beginning, you go short while and come back, again go in there, each time you get a jerk. When you are coming back, appear like a jerk. So it must be your second nature, season it as much as possible, then only you come to know that as far as you have no volition, as far as you know will, the machine runs smoothly. Not necessarily, you must fork fingers. So more you may go to the Patipada Jnana Dasana Visuddhi, Jnana Dasana Visuddhi. So there the momentum develop its own, just like at last you learn the bike, you can run without putting the handle, 2 hands into the handle. If the momentum happens, you can release both the hands. By moving your body, you can change the bicycle. While you are training, you have to handle both the hands, and very toughly you are handling. But when the proper momentum happens, you can release it. It is I think more radical, more sporty. To cycling without putting the hands.
Next question. Bhante, can you give a breakdown of the Dhutanga rules? Thank you.
It is I can't remember all the 13 in sequences, but if you can consult the Visuddhimagga, it's a very big chunk, detail. So that anyone can, both available in English and Sinhala, so one can understand from that. I have nothing to specially add into that.
In the next page there are 4 questions. The first one is one able to enter jhana using walking meditation? Within brackets, vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, upekka and ekaggata.
No, that jhanic experiences are really confined to the sitting meditation, but standing can be. When there's a one commentary says, there's a one reverend known as Asagutta, he is a master in the loving kindness meditation, but not at the time of the Buddha. It happened during of the King Asoka's time, and he was so mastered, and daily he goes on Pindapata. So when you are passing a house, if he or she going to see a householder, housewife or now husbands are available, so going to have something served, he stands still. He knows that house is preparing. And then he stand over there, he attend into the jhanic experience. And if this person is closing, he open the eyes and say Sukhi Hotu. Blessing. And that blessing is very, very effective, it seems, because he is just coming out of the jhana and doing the blessing. So every people are waiting to getting the blessings. Because the moment you go there and stand still, he can attain the jhana. And when the blessing happens, he is get out of the jhana and do the blessing. So therefore, he is in such a mastery situation. And yet another place, whenever the Maha Moggallana was encountered with Muchalinda Naga, and there also that Naga also had the full powers, full extrasensory powers, and it is also attacking. When Sariputta also, when Moggallana also wanted to have at a time attack with the water, at a time attack with the fire, at a time attack with the air. So it has happened to jump from one jhana to the other very quickly. So there also, it has not mentioned whether he is standing or sitting or whatever may be. And the Atthakatha, it says, any person changing the objects from the heat to the water to the air, always he has to first come back to the fourth jhana and then go to the other place. The Buddha and the Moggallana has no such a limitation. He can jump one to the other without coming back to the fourth jhana. That is why he managed to tackle that particular Naga. Others definitely defeated, because that Naga has a special power. So if someone to beat him, he must have the ability to go from the water to fire without going back to the fourth jhana. He can directly go there. So under such circumstances, there may be extraordinary characteristics. But usually others are developing basically in the sitting posture and sometimes in standing posture. But in walking, for my understanding, it is quite impossible.
If not, what is consequence of walking? If not, what a consequence of walk meditation?
So that means even without the jhanic experience, jhanic concentration, access concentration, we can go there. And the concentration we can get, but no up to the absorption level.
Third question. You have said that walking meditation has strong benefits. Please elaborate.
So that the written books also available, and I thought of putting that into the one of the future talks, and I will take about 30-40 minutes to completely give the full treatment. And if till that, if you have this booklet has very little, but in this life itself, the chapter 4 is talking about the walking meditation. And in the Sinhala, before going, if you have understanding, please remind me. I can give you one copy of walking meditation. There also, the subject has been dealt in little detail, but in the series also I will try to incorporate in the one of the talks, then it will be handled fully.
If one were to select a set of suttas representing the Buddha's teaching, within brackets like gospel for Christians, what would they be and why?
So when I asked this question, I asked from Venerable Jnanarama specifically. I told that there are 15,000 or more number of suttas. So I have no Pali understanding, but you know that the Buddha Jayanti books have this Pali page and the Sinhala page. Sinhala also very difficult. Then I told Bhante, I have no much time. As a meditator, what I must understand. He told Majjhima Nikaya. 152 suttas, and each and every one has one or the other hint for the meditators. And it is, commentary is known as Papancha Sudhani. Papancha means that mental proliferation. And suttas are dealing about mental proliferation. I mean, one of the main hindrances in our meditation. So Majjhima Nikaya is a good one, because it's stories. You have incidents. And then and there, the particular one that we selected, Rathavinitha Sutta, and the Sappurisa Sutta I am often referring. They are also that Anapanasati Sutta. All are you find in the Majjhima Nikaya, middle length sayings. And Bhikkhu Bodhi translation is fairly good. And he has now gone for 8 editions. So go for the recent most one, because whenever he is translating, he is refining the vocabulary.
I have a question about the middle length. As you mentioned, I just read a little bit, and it's often mentioned that one has to have the jhana to get to Nibbana.
The middle length sayings.
Yes, often I think in many suttas it says. And I want to know, because I can't reach jhana, myself. I don't think so. Is that a hopeless case?
So that basic suttas in the meditation addresses Anapanasati Sutta, Satipatthana Sutta, they are not talking about jhana. There are others, of course. So that if you have jhana, I mean, it's good. But if it's not there, that is why the Satipatthana Sutta has been esteemed by Sri Lankan very highly, because it is both available for the bare insight people as well as the people, those who have the concentration. And the Anapanasati Sutta also never mentioned. And at the beginning of the Anapanasati, the Buddha Sutta, the Buddha says, in this group, all the kind of people available. Those who have samatha trends, those who have all the kind of, but for them, the Buddha prescribed, Anapanasati is the panacea. For all. But in that particular one, not talking about the jhanic experiences.
And so, a little question, why can't somebody not reach jhana? I mean, why stop at a certain level of samadhi? Why is it not possible to go further? What do I do?
That in the talk that day, the Alan Bullock told that your height is decided. Your height, how tall you are, is decided. So you can ask, why should I cannot be more taller or shorter? No, it is the thing. But it doesn't matter, you are human. So therefore, jhanic practices is that don't make it an obsession. And other thing is, once you go to a certain level of vipassana, definitely you can have a shortcuts to the jhanic experience. The concept. Yes. That is called samatha pubbanga, vipassana pubbangama samatha.
So a quick dive into jhanas is possible, then out again, like this?
Yeah. That is mastery. That mastering of entering and coming out, you master it. But the vipassana is giving a reason why should you master. Otherwise you become slave to the jhana. But vipassana is really defining, you must master it, then only you can use it. As and when you wish, you like. Pardon me? Yeah, two ways.
Yeah, I think I'm only sort of sticking to Satipatthana Sutta because I listen to other sutras, but the rules, if I stick to that, will it be enough?
Yeah, definitely. That is the Pandita Sayadaw, he says, when you go to abroad for the mission, he says, I am not going to represent Buddha. I am not going to represent the Sangha. I am going to represent Dhamma. So if you have any respect to the Dhamma, no question you can take part in the retreat. Then he says that you may come out and complain, Dhamma is 84,000 pieces, so how can I know what is you are talking about? Therefore, Dhamma is very big, so that you may tell excuses. Then he says, I will ask you, be aware of Satipatthana. That's enough. Then he will say, Satipatthana commentary is so much thick. Then what about all? Should I know every Satipatthana? So they say, forget about Satipatthana, be mindful and Sati. Sati is enough. So then it's going. Catching the momentum.
Is it true that for all intents and purposes you don't need to even obtain a jhana to get,
Yeah, that is to start with, you can start with the access jhana, access concentration, and then when you develop the vipassana knowledges, you are definitely going through the jhanic experiences. That the best way it has been tackled is you can read it in this life itself. In this very life, the Buddha, the Sayadaw has mentioned about the vipassana jhana. He says the factually, functionally equal. So you can experience that the gradation, the stratification is exactly like samatha jhana.
I don't know if I said it right. That to obtain nibbana, you didn't need to go ahead and obtain jhana.
No, I will put it this way. To start, whatever may be, to go to the nibbana, you must have vipassana. Without vipassana, no way. So, to start vipassana, you must have a certain amount of concentration. That concentration will be either conventional samatha concentration or vipassana concentration. That means conventional concentration or momentary concentration. Then the question is, what is the bare minimum level of the momentary concentration for you to become a qualified Vipassana yogi? So it says the access concentration. When you start access concentration, while the car is running, the dynamo is working and the battery gets charged. Like when the Vipassana is running, your concentration also develops. So then ultimately it can go to the first jhana level, second jhana level, third jhana level. But those who are prescribing and talking against this bare inside meditation, they will highly emphasize to have jhanic experience before Vipassana. But the Mahasi Sayadaw told, people, those who are living in household life, very difficult to maintain the conventional jhanic experience. But present day, if you take the population count of the people meditating, people are meditating, more than 95% are lay people. So if someone going to say everyone should have a jhana, that will become a barrier. It becomes a burden. So he says, you start with the bare minimum and try. If you are going to get the benefits, you are free. You can either go forward or you can make any decision. So the Mahasi Sayadaw, he is talking barely, basically and strongly against about the inside meditation, bare inside. He has accumulated all the canonical background, the history to prove these kind of people have no any jhanic experiences. They reached the final goal.
Was it true that an arahant did not have, somebody got to be an arahant without a jhanic experience, right? Yeah.
When it is happening, it says when you are becoming arahant, by the momentum itself, your concentration functionally go up to the fourth jhana. Upachara. Now we have to mark time.
I think your discourse on Meghiya Sutta, it runs to 50 CDs. It's a wonderful discourse.
But it's in Sinhala.
Sinhala, yes, that's answer.
Okay. So we have taken almost 2 hours. So 3 more questions are there. So we will postpone it to the evening after the Dhamma talk. We can take it up. But anyway, as far as the questions are relevant, it's worthwhile. That everyone is learning. So I will have a less and less burden on the interviews. Things have been asked and it's going on. Okay, now we are going for a walking meditation. We have 1 hour and 10 minutes for a cup of tea and walking meditation, and we will be meeting here at about 4 o'clock. Thank you very much for participation.